For millennia, humanity's story has been etched in the iron of conflict. From the tribal skirmishes of prehistory to the global conflagrations of the modern age, the shadow of aggression has loomed large, shaping our societies, fueling our innovations, and defining our very existence. But what if this fundamental impulse, this inherent capacity for violence, were simply absent? What if, from the dawn of sentience, every human being possessed an absolute, unwavering commitment to pacifism? No war, no physical aggression, no forceful coercion. Imagine a world where the very thought of striking another, of unleashing the destructive power of a weapon, was utterly alien, a concept as bizarre and incomprehensible as breathing water. How would such a profound absence reshape the intricate tapestry of human civilization? How would conflicts, resource struggles, and ideological differences be resolved when the ultimate arbiter, force, is forever removed from the equation? Step with us into an alternate reality, a world born not of fire and blood, but of an unyielding, universal peace. The ripples of this fundamental shift would emanate outwards from the very genesis of civilization. Consider the Fertile Crescent, cradle of empires. Without the threat of armed conquest, the grand, martial empires like Akkad or Sumeria would never have formed through subjugation. Instead, federations might have arisen, bound by mutual aid pacts and sophisticated trade networks. The towering walls of Jericho, if they existed, would be for protection against natural forces or perhaps symbolic declarations of community, never for defense against a warring neighbor. The Roman Empire, a titan forged in military might and territorial expansion, would be an impossibility. Its roads, its legions, its very legal structure, all designed to administer a conquered populace, would have no purpose. Perhaps in its place, a vast, decentralized confederation of city-states linked by sophisticated civil engineering projects and a shared commitment to a universal code of non-aggression would flourish. Their conquests would be intellectual, their expansions cultural. The great migrations across continents would not be propelled by displacement from conflict, but by ecological necessity, resource discovery, or pure wanderlust. The indigenous peoples of the Americas would encounter European explorers not as conquerors bearing arms, but as fellow humans seeking trade and knowledge. The exchange, while still potentially disruptive, would be devoid of the genocidal violence that scarred our own timeline. Their cultures, their languages would persist, evolving in a rich, unblemished diversity. Even the most pivotal revolutions of our timeline, the American, the French, the Russian, were born of violent overthrow. In a pacifist world, such cataclysms are unthinkable. Change would be glacial, painstakingly negotiated through endless deliberation, mass civil disobedience, boycotts, and unyielding nonviolent protests that could last for generations. The inherent friction of progress would remain, but its resolution would always be through persuasive argument and moral consensus, rendering figures like Washington, Robespierre, or Lenin utterly anachronistic in their historical roles. Their genius, if it existed, would be channeled into diplomacy, legal reform, or the patient art of public persuasion. The discovery of gunpowder in our timeline, a pivotal military innovation, would likely still occur, but its primary applications would be in mining, construction, and perhaps controlled geological surveys. The invention of the longbow or the trebuchet would be viewed with bewildered curiosity, engineering marvels whose purpose, in a world devoid of combat, would be puzzlingly unclear. The very concept of a weapon would require a radical redefinition, perhaps as a tool for environmental shaping or resource extraction, but never for harm. History then becomes a chronicle not of battles won, but of agreements forged, not of empires risen and fallen, but of cooperative ventures and ethical dilemmas peacefully navigated. Without the relentless engine of war driving innovation, the landscape of scientific and technological progress would be profoundly different. Many advancements that sprung from military necessity would simply never exist. The atomic bomb, a terrifying pinnacle of destructive science, would remain an unimaginable theoretical possibility, its principles perhaps explored for energy generation but never weaponized. Radar and sonar, developed for naval warfare, might emerge much later for purely civilian applications like meteorology or deep-sea exploration. The Internet, born from the ARPANET's need for resilient communication in case of attack, would have taken an entirely different, slower, and perhaps more organically collaborative path, prioritizing information sharing and collective knowledge over secure, decentralized command. Instead, scientific inquiry would be driven by fundamental human needs and pure curiosity. Medicine would flourish, freed from the diversion of resources into battlefield trauma care. The eradication of diseases, the extension of lifespan, and the enhancement of human well-being would be paramount. Material science would focus on sustainability, durability, and resource efficiency. Energy research would prioritize clean, renewable sources, not to secure geopolitical advantage, but to ensure universal access and environmental harmony. Space exploration, devoid of any strategic or competitive imperative, would be a purely collaborative global endeavor. Massive orbital observatories, multinational lunar outposts, and ambitious deep space probes would be monuments to shared human intellect and the thirst for discovery. Imagine colossal interstellar vessels, their designs optimized for long-duration, multi-generational voyages, crewed by an international consortium, all dedicated to understanding the cosmos. Perhaps the most fascinating technological innovations would emerge in the realm of conflict resolution and resource management. Consider empathy engines, sophisticated biometric and neural feedback systems designed not for coercion, but for mutual understanding. Individuals involved in disputes might voluntarily enter a shared virtual environment, their physiological responses monitored and displayed, allowing each party to viscerally experience the emotional impact of their actions or demands on the other. This isn't about forced agreement, but about fostering profound, undeniable empathy. Automated, globally networked resource allocation systems would be a hallmark of this age. Sophisticated AI fed with real-time data on supply and demand, environmental impact, and community needs would orchestrate the equitable distribution of food, water, and raw materials on a planetary scale. These systems would be transparent, auditable, and constantly refined through global consensus. Furthermore, the absence of military spending would free up astronomical sums, leading to colossal investments in synthetic resource creation, desalination technologies, and advanced atmospheric carbon capture, tackling environmental challenges with unprecedented global unity and innovation. Even the most ambitious geoengineering projects aimed at stabilizing the planet's climate or even terraforming other worlds would be undertaken with global collaboration, free from the paranoia of national advantage. In this reality, daily life would be steeped in a pervasive calm, a deep-seated trust that permeates every interaction. The absence of the threat of violence would fundamentally alter human psychology. Fear of physical harm, of predatory aggression, would be largely unknown, leading to lower stress levels, improved mental health, and a pervasive sense of security. Children would grow up in environments devoid of violent media or cautionary tales of human brutality, their imaginations instead filled with stories of cooperative triumphs and peaceful exploration. The very structure of language would evolve. Words for war, weapon, conquest, and vengeance would exist only as historical curiosities, or perhaps as abstract concepts in philosophical discussions about human potential for destructive action, long since overcome. Instead, vocabularies would be rich with terms for nuanced negotiation, conflict de-escalation, empathy, collaborative problem-solving, and restorative justice. New forms of communication might emerge, perhaps emphasizing nonverbal cues and emotional resonance to bridge cultural divides and prevent misunderstandings. Art and entertainment would mirror this societal shift. There would be no epics glorifying battles, no action films celebrating violence. Instead, narratives would center on the drama of human relationships, the struggle against natural forces, the intellectual thrill of discovery, or the profound beauty of collective achievement. Grand architectural projects, colossal public artworks, and intricate communal gardens would become expressions of shared identity and aspiration. Music would be universally calming, uplifting, or intellectually stimulating, designed to foster harmony and connection. Performance art might involve elaborate interactive simulations designed to teach empathy and cultural understanding. Societal values would revolve around core tenets: radical empathy, unwavering cooperation, patience, intellectual rigor, and an almost sacred respect for individual autonomy and the collective good. Shame and social ostracism would be the ultimate corrective mechanisms for breaches of the social contract, replacing physical punishment or incarceration. The concept of justice would be entirely restorative, focused on healing societal ruptures and reintegrating individuals through understanding, amends, and rehabilitation. Reflection centers or reconciliation communes would replace prisons, focusing on intensive psychological and emotional retraining guided by consensus and compassion. Education would be the bedrock of this pacifist society. Curricula would emphasize critical thinking, emotional intelligence, advanced communication skills, global citizenship, and deeply ingrained ethical reasoning. Students would engage in sophisticated role-playing scenarios of resource disputes and ideological clashes, learning to navigate complex problems through diplomacy and creative compromise. Cultural exchange programs would be mandatory, fostering a deep understanding and appreciation of human diversity, recognizing it as a source of strength, not division. This would be a society where wisdom and moral clarity hold more weight than any material power, where the greatest heroes are those who can broker the most profound peace. In a world of absolute pacifism, the traditional geopolitical chessboard dissolves entirely. The very concept of nation-states as sovereign entities with defined borders and the right to armed defense would become obsolete. Instead, a complex, layered system of global governance would have evolved, built upon universal consensus and a profound understanding of interconnectedness. A powerful, highly decentralized world body, perhaps a direct evolution of a truly empowered United Nations, would act as the ultimate arbiter of interregional disputes. Global resource councils would be paramount. These would not be competitive bodies, but rather collaborative planning organizations responsible for assessing planetary needs, managing scarce resources like fresh water, mineral deposits, and arable land, and coordinating their equitable distribution. Decisions would be based on scientific data, ethical frameworks, and the needs of all global communities, with dissenting voices resolved through extensive deliberation and open data transparency until a universal accord is reached. Advanced predictive models and real-time environmental monitoring would ensure proactive management, averting potential crises before they escalate. The nature of power itself would transform. Military might, the ultimate currency in our timeline, would have no value. Instead, power would be wielded through intellectual persuasion, moral authority, ethical leadership, and the ability to innovate solutions for collective well-being. Influence would stem from one's capacity for empathy, one's depth of knowledge, and one's proven commitment to the global community. Scientists, ethicists, consensus builders, and master communicators would be the true leaders. Resource problems, the historical flashpoints for countless conflicts, would be resolved through a combination of technological ingenuity and radical cooperation. When a region faces water scarcity, the global community mobilizes its vast desalination projects and intricate water-sharing networks. When fertile land diminishes, bioengineers and agricultural scientists collaborate on new, high-yield, sustainable farming methods, openly sharing all research. There would be an unspoken yet ironclad moral obligation to ensure no community suffers while others prosper. New systems of global finance would emerge, possibly based on resource credits or a universal basic income distributed globally, decoupled from traditional national economies. Trade would flow freely, driven by mutual benefit and the efficient allocation of goods and services, without tariffs or protectionist measures aimed at gaining an advantage. Ideological differences would be resolved through global forums, extended philosophical debates, and open-source data analysis, seeking common ground and synthesizing diverse perspectives into new, more comprehensive understandings. Who dominates? Perhaps no one and everyone. True dominance would be seen as anathema to the pacifist ethos. Instead, regions or communities might emerge as centers of excellence in particular fields, a hub for renewable energy innovation here, a center for advanced medical research there, a bastion of artistic expression elsewhere, all contributing to the global tapestry, all interdependent, all voluntarily collaborating. Borders would become mere lines on a map, perhaps denoting cultural regions or administrative zones, but entirely permeable, facilitating the free movement of people, ideas, and resources across a truly unified world. The very concept of geopolitics would be replaced by geo-community, a complex, living organism of shared responsibility and collective fate. In this alternate timeline, the pantheon of history's most influential figures would be dramatically recast. The Gandhis and Martin Luther King Jr.'s would not be revolutionary outliers, but foundational architects of global society, their principles of nonviolent resistance and radical empathy becoming the default operating system for human interaction from the earliest organized communities. Their philosophies would be taught as fundamental tenets of human existence, not as courageous defiance against a violent norm. Figures like Alexander the Great or Napoleon, defined by their military conquests, would simply never exist in their historical forms. Their strategic genius, if it manifested, would be channeled into grand infrastructure projects, the organization of vast humanitarian efforts, or the complex logistics of global resource distribution. Imagine an Alexander whose empire was built not by the sword, but by the voluntary integration of diverse cultures into a thriving, peaceful superfederation governed by a universal code of ethics. Instead, the most revered figures would be individuals of immense intellectual capacity, moral clarity, and unparalleled persuasive ability. Global arbitrators would be individuals of such unimpeachable wisdom and impartiality that their counsel in disputes would be universally accepted, not through force, but through sheer moral authority and logical rigor. These would not be judges, but revered facilitators of understanding. Resource architects would be celebrated engineers and planners who design and manage the intricate, automated global systems that ensure equitable distribution of necessities. Their names would be known not for conquering nations, but for feeding continents or greening deserts. Empathy scholars and cultural harmonizers would be crucial, revered for their ability to bridge divides, foster understanding across diverse worldviews, and invent new methods of communication that deepen human connection. Scientists and philosophers like an Einstein or a Plato would be celebrated for their pure intellectual contributions, unburdened by the need to contribute to military defense. Their theories would be debated and applied in a truly global scientific community, leading to accelerated advancements for the benefit of all. Think of a Marie Curie, not just discovering radium for medicine, but as part of a global consortium dedicated to curing all disease, with infinite resources and open collaboration. Political leaders would be figures of consensus building, diplomacy, and ethical governance. Their campaigns would be based not on promises of power or defense, but on their ability to articulate a compelling vision of collective well-being. Their track record in fostering cooperation, and their mastery of intricate global negotiations. A Nelson Mandela might be a long-serving, universally respected facilitator of interregional cooperation, his life dedicated to the patient, unwavering work of global integration, never having known the indignity of imprisonment for dissent. The heroes of this world would be the architects of peace, the engineers of compassion, and the guardians of global unity. The world we have journeyed through is one both profoundly alien and strangely familiar. Stripped of the capacity for violence, humanity is forced to confront its challenges with an ingenuity and cooperation born of necessity. The absence of war does not mean the absence of struggle. Resource scarcity, ideological divergence, individual ambition, and the sheer complexity of governing billions of unique perspectives would remain formidable tests. But in this reality, these tests are met not with the clang of steel, but with the patient work of diplomacy, the relentless pursuit of scientific solution, and the unwavering commitment to a shared ethical framework. It is a world where empires are built on consensus, where technology serves collective well-being, where art celebrates harmony, and where leadership is defined by wisdom and empathy. Yet, one might ponder, is such a world truly perfect? Does the absence of struggle sometimes lead to a different form of stagnation? Is there a certain vital, albeit destructive, energy that is also lost? The very slow, deliberate pace of change, the endless deliberation required for every major decision might, for some, feel like a cage of consensus, a stifling of individual will. This thought experiment, however, compels us to confront a fundamental question. Is violence an inherent, unavoidable aspect of the human condition, or a learned behavior, a societal construct that, given a different foundational premise, could be entirely transcended? This alternate history offers a glimpse into a humanity that has, by its very nature, chosen a different path. It is a testament to the profound power of a single what if, and a lingering, powerful reminder of the choices, conscious or unconscious, that continue to shape our own unfolding story.